Hello everybody, welcome back to Into the Veil. This is Rachel. Ken's with me and we thought we would take a walk. For those of you that follow Arkansas Bigfoot, you'll know that we had a unique experience the other night. I had a large kind of gold colored orb fly up out of nowhere. And we were curious about what was going on that night because we both felt the effects of the energy that was at play. And we don't necessarily feel like it was Sasquatch specifically zapping us, but we were curious about what was going on that would create that kind of effect. So, you want to walk a little? So basically, we were sitting still on the hill over here, and everything was going along fine. The tapes were going well, and all of a sudden, I was feeling something that was trying. I don't know whether to call it interference, but it didn't feel like something we normally would feel out here. That I can say. And it didn't feel like Sasquatch at all. We muddled through the next, 10 minutes maybe. And Ken kind of just started not feeling right. Didn't feel himself. We had this huge orb shoot up right in front of us, which we've seen things at a distance, but never right in front of us like that. So I thought I would ask Anku if he'd be willing to help us understand what happened that night. And if you'll bear with me a moment, I'm going to tune in and make sure he's close by. Anku. He says yes. Ooh, I got the goosebumps. He's really close by. Can you explain to us what we experienced the other night? We've had other night walks out here and we've never had anything like that happen before. He's saying interference is a good word. There are portals out here, as he tried to explain before, and he said maybe he didn't explain it well enough, but there are portals out here that are already marked for protection, because they have been able to verify that what comes from those vortices, those doorways, is not positive. And in that, he said that there are still portals that a variety, he says a variety of energies can use. And normally the way that they treat that is until something shows itself to be a threat, they don't generally do anything specific about it. That night, as we were sitting up there, he saw, and he said he was probably, I'm getting the number 20 feet away, but he saw something come into our space, and in that he saw that it was not benign. He said it's like, I see these hands. He's showing me these hands, like one was grabbing Ken and one was attempting to grab me, our energy fields, I should say. And this would be, he says, this would be the type of energy that you associate with being vampiric, that it would just eat your energy. And especially in the darkness, anything that resonates light, it tends to, the caution is that it can draw these things kind of like a bug to a light or a moth to a flame, so to speak. It stands out to them. And this particular one, no, I'm sorry, he's showing me 3, like they were traveling together. So with those 3, what he's showing me is it's a little bit like, there's 2 smaller, 1 bigger in my mind's eye that I can see, and it's almost like something showing these 2 smaller ones how to do this. But there are 2 hands, 1 on each of our energy fields, and if they had been successful, all 3 of them could have potentially attached, used. It's something kind of nasty, though, needless to say, not for our betterment. And when he saw this energetically, in his energetic form, what he shows me next is that he's saying, not physically, but at that moment, energetically, I see his leg raise, and I see 1 foot just stomp. And at that moment, it broke the barrier for them, it vibrationally, it's like they went flying out. And he's sort of apologetic because he doesn't know for sure which energy affected us the most physically. It could have been a combination of both, but it was nothing intentionally to disturb us, but to protect us. And it might have been, he says, it might have been partially his fault, but there was no harm at all intended in it, quite the opposite. So, good to know he's got our back. It's just odd because we did feel a little bit of a shift, but never would have guessed it to be anything, that serious, or what he at least perceived to be that serious. And I'm grateful, and I know Ken is. And we're feeling pretty good today, so I think it affected us both a little differently. Ken seemed to have more of the mood swing part of it and the physical ramifications from it. For me, I was tired, but I think it was a combination of feeling that and feeling Ken's energy and my own, and trying to filter all three of them into this nice little ball to expunge. But that pretty much, I almost see his head down, like he feels bad, like he feels wrong, No, not at all wrong. No, he wasn't close enough to think that it would have an effect on us to that extent. He didn't really realize just that we just need to be a little further from it next time. I'm grateful. I don't have an issue with that. I'll take a couple of days of being tired if it's for our protection. And it may not have been anything to do with him clearing the space. It may have entirely been whatever was trying to latch on, to be honest. Any thoughts?
Well, when I put that little piece of the night clip video on there before the orb appeared, if you watch it closely, you'll see a spot where the light kind of brightens around where we're standing, and I could feel something over my left shoulder, so I clicked the flashlight real quick, like just a half a second, and looked over my shoulder and then turned it out. And it wasn't, just very shortly after that thing come blasting through and then dispersed or exploded or whatever it was that it did.
And what you felt over your left shoulder, it didn't feel familiar to you?
No, that's why I looked, because all of the action was going on in front of us down over the slope of the hill. All the sounds from Junior and the little ones and all of the banging and knocking and huffing and grunting, all that stuff was out in front of us.
And getting in tune with your personal energy field would be highly recommended, he said, if you're not already there, because the further time goes, the more of a there's something about the veil thinning, or he said all of these arches, he's pointing, like, all of these arches, all of these things are only a symbol. Yes, they use them, but they're only a symbol. Oh, wow. I've got goosebumps. Sorry, guys. I'm just adjusting here. All they are is a symbol of the many, many gates and doors, because this is one place. And it's important for everybody to start becoming aware and true, sovereign to who they are, to their space. This is a spot I dreamed about last night, right here. I can see it. The sticks were laid out. I'm sorry to interrupt, but all night I dreamed about this spot. Ooh. I'm gonna have to feel that one out, but there's some juice there. And when I found myself in the dream after what seemed like hours, it's probably 5 minutes, of just seeing the sticks on the ground. And I'm thinking through this dream, do you know how many sticks are out there? Do you know how many glyphs are out there? Show me something to find it. And it was the root wad on that tree, of all things. And that's, as soon as I saw that laying on the ground, I knew. And that's the way they work, if you allow them to. They're amazing teachers. And I do have the rods with me, but I think I'm going to do that separately. This arch. Huh. But the whole thing is, back to the subject, is each of us has got to become accountable for ourselves. We have to quit pointing the finger to everything and everybody else around us to provide, solutions, answers, and so on, because all of that's right within us. And it's okay to reach out for help now and then. But we have to quit using everybody else as our reason not to know ourselves. Anyway, I appreciate you walking along with us. And if you have any questions, do let me know. I think we covered everything from that night video.
The only other thing I wanted to see was to walk down the slope of the hill from where we had the camera set up and see if I saw any kind of area where they were out there banging around and doing their thing, because it was pretty active before all that happened. But now that pine tree right in front of us is where I had that voice recorder hanging on that broken limb, and we were set up about 40 yards on past that, straight ahead, and everything was coming from down here over the slope of this hill. And it looks like they had a party right here around these two trees. There's all kinds of broke limbs and a glyph laying there, and all over there around that.
Definitely tromp down back here.
Yeah, right out through this trail. Yeah, this is all kind of beat down through here. but it gets pretty dense the deeper it goes down into it, which is kind of why we set it up the way that we did, because I figured they would be more comfortable in that heavier cover to come up close, or at least within 50-60 yards of us. So,
and a lot of times at night that's where we hear them come up, so we thought it would be more natural too.
yeah, I'm gonna walk this way just a second. And that goes right out into that little opening where that big pile of rocks are stacked up at. That explains where the rock clacking was coming from. Of course, we heard that from 2 locations, so they were probably banging on the ones back there by the gifting tree as well. Once you get through that clearing and go down into that heavy brush, that's where we caught that ghost
Apparition.
image. Yeah, that's where we caught that ghost image that day, or 2 different times.
And it was back there that we did the first video for Into the Veil.
Yeah.
You know, testing different spots. But anyway, we thought we would give some explanation and try to talk to Anku about what exactly transpired, and I feel like he did a pretty good job of explaining things that are hard to explain. And we thank you, Anku, for that. I thank you all for being with us. I hope you will like, share, and subscribe. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to me, and we will see you on the next one.